Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE Monday Night Raw. John, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Um, I always feel a little better when Raw ends on a fairly good note, so that's pretty nice. It was a little rough getting there. We'll get into all that fun stuff and more. Before we do, just want to remind you all this show, like everything we do here, is available on all our platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So leave a like and subscribe if you don't mind. Now, John, we might as well start off with what opened the show because it wound up playing a part in some ways in what closed the show. We started off, John, with the riveting, the compelling, the captivating quiz bowl between RK Bro and Alpha Academy, the finale of the academic challenge here, and actually academic challenge here. You know, they're actually asking intellectual questions. There were actual topics here. This is very much felt like a Raw and Jeopardy crossover. It was a very much standard trivia game. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it hit me the wrong way or if I just was not in the best of moods to start off, but like I just was not feeling it. Or if it was one of those weeks where just Riddle's humor just really grated on me the wrong way. I don't know. Most of this really just did not do it for me. There were jokes. I'm looking at my notes. There were jokes about Riddle. He brought up an anecdote about dissecting an octopus. There was a joke about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Gable actually got to be smart and showcase that actually is, smart. He actually is. It does have that master's degree. And Otis even got a chance to sign a little bit. And in the end, Randy Orton's knowledge of baking proved to be the ultimate difference here, where he turned to Riddle and said, "Do you think you're the only one that knows about baking? Or no, you're the only one that bakes here?" A lot of people picked up on that. So that was how RK Bro won the quiz bowl there, and in doing so earned a Raw Tag Title rematch there. Brian Everett saying wasn't a bad show, with the exception of the quiz bowl here. Not a fan of that, John. What did you think about the quiz bowl that opened up Raw here?
Well, uh, similar to a lot of people, I thought it was a mixed bag. I'll start out by saying that from the trivia aspect, as far as just like the questions and the build and the categories, it wasn't actually that bad. Now, this is interesting because a lot of the entertainment I thought actually came from Gable and Otis in this segment, and not Orton and Orton and Riddle, which is surprising. I mean, the whole Otis with Hamlet. Like, I mean, it was just it's
Yeah.
funny to put that together. But then of course they had the scale question with the grams and ounces, and I was like, well, that's obviously the obvious marijuana reference. And of course Orton answers it instead of Riddle. I mean, if you're into that kind of humor, good for you. This is obviously probably going to be forgettable. And of course, as Steven mentions, the Denver Broncos question in Denver, makes sense. I'm surprised they didn't have more of that.
Yeah, this was rigged. This
It,
was rigged,
but
man.
I will say it wasn't as ridiculous as it could have been. I'll just put it at that.
It's fair.
And I thought at least having it open the show and not like close the show. I mean, whatever, that's fine. Now they're coming out of this. I kind of had more questions than answers though, because like we get the rematch. I'm not convinced. I don't think anybody's convinced that Orton and Riddle were going to win the titles back. So it seems like they kind of transitioned into another feud, or not another feud, but like the next step later in the night when there was a backstage promo between the two, and Orton was saying, basically to focus on Rollins for tonight, but in the long term, you could win the championship at the Chamber. And then Riddle said, well, if I win and we win the tag titles, I'll be a double champion. And it just, to me, it's like it's setting the scene for long term. But the news came out, I think maybe like in the last week over the weekend, that more and more people are lobbying for it to be title versus title between Lesnar and Reigns. But to me, Riddle has to win at the Chamber for these two to break up and have it make sense. If he doesn't win at the Chamber, like it just doesn't really make sense to me to break them up. Now, of course, you could keep them together if you really wanted to, but there aren't really a whole lot of teams to feud with. I mean, I don't know. Like
I
DJ
mean,
said,
yeah,
it's
they
fun to
do.
fight
They're
each
just
other.
saying they've had their fun. It's time to fight each other. I think, and we've been talking about this for a while now. Um, and I said last week I wasn't the biggest fan of kind of hot shotting Riddle getting the title at Elimination Chamber because it doesn't feel like the right time. And something I've been like underestimating with that in mind is like Brock Lesnar is in that match. If Brock doesn't win, he has to get pinned, and he just got pinned by Bob Lashley, albeit with some tainted circumstances. But having Brock take 2 losses in a row like that isn't the best look. I think they can still get to Riddle and Randy splitting up if they want to do that. Even if it's just Randy saying, "Hey, you were in this match in the first place. You had a chance to qualify in the first place, and I didn't." While it may not be quite as juicy as being for the title, it's still I would say a very sound motive. But in a general sense, Brian's saying Riddle is due for some kind of push here. And we might as well just loop over to the main event because we're on hot topic of RK Bro. So we had RK Bro, well, at least Riddle in action here, facing Seth Rollins for, I believe, the first time ever, at least in a singles match, or at the very least the first time in quite a while. It's definitely not a match to do a lot. And it was a good match until Kevin Owens interferes. We'll talk about why he did in a minute. That sets up Randy Orton come out for the save. As you would expect, RK Bro versus Owens and Rollins in the main event. Good match, but Rollins pins Riddle in that tag team match. Now, for a split second, I still thought RK Bro had the tag titles. So I thought, oh, they could have a fun feud for the titles. But then, right now, RK Bro does not have the tag titles. So I feel like even if they don't want to have it for the titles, they could feud as the two teams if they do want to hold off on RK Bro splitting up. Because I did see there are a lot of reports going around. It's kind of unclear what exactly is the general sentiment, but some reports have said they do want to kind of hold off on that split unless it is for the WWE title. But again, John, you mentioned title versus title. There's so many moving parts here. It's kind of hard to imagine exactly how it's going to go. DJ predicting Riddle will shock the world and win the title, and Orton will face him for the title. I have a hard time really picturing that. It's like Riddle winning the title. That's the Chamber is not this Saturday, but the Saturday after that. And I just I know he's been featured pretty much every week on Raw for about a year now, a little longer, year and a half maybe. I guess if you factor in his time on SmackDown as well, it doesn't quite feel like it's the right time. And I don't love the idea of title versus title with Brock either. It's just this is one of those cases where they have some options that I don't exactly love any one a whole lot. I think of AJ Styles, Brock, Riddle here. I guess I like Riddle the least because it just doesn't feel like the right time. For Brock, Steven Chambers saying I can't really picture Brock with 2 belts. He's not wrestling full time. Can see Roman retaining in that eventual match. I mean, yeah, it would be not great to have it be title versus title, like title unification, and to give Brock both titles like that with him not being there full time. I don't know. But it was a fun main event here. I did like having Rollins and Owens get the win there. And we might as well touch on that as well. Now we had a little more tease here of Rollins and Owens, kind of some tension, some jealousy. Owens was upset. He was that Rollins didn't use his influence last week, but he was saying, "Hey, if I beat Austin Theory tonight, I can get a shot here and maybe in the Chamber." He did beat Austin Theory, but he did not get a spot in the Chamber. Sonya Deville said, "No, you're not going to get a spot in the Chamber. You might not even be at WrestleMania this year." And Owens cuts a promo about loving Texas and loving the state of Texas. And I thought that was pretty entertaining. But it is crazy to imagine, at least sitting here today, that Owens doesn't exactly have a very clear path forward to WrestleMania, except for, as we were talking about and what Nestor Kirsch here is saying, Owens versus Rollins WrestleMania. Now, I tweeted about this, and our own colleague, Robert DeFelice, was really down on this idea. He said, we saw it 2 years ago with 2 pretty similar characters. Admittedly, I would say that they've changed a lot, but I digress. I don't know, John. What are you thinking about maybe the Rollins and Owens side of this here, where they might be going with Rollins being in the Chamber, Owens not, and how that might go moving forward?
So I'm not completely convinced at this point that Orton and Riddle won't win the tag titles back and turn this into a tag feud, as you mentioned earlier. There's an opportunity to do this, and I think it would make sense and at least give all of them something to do. However, if we're talking about just like tonight and the the potential feud between these two, I have to agree with Robert that I would not want to see this again. But they both need to be on the card, and if you can't really think of anything else for them to do, and if that's the best option, if that's what you have to do, what they did with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens last year, now that of course they brought in a celebrity, and they kind of molded that into the show. They could do that this year if they wanted to, not that it would need it. But I can't think of anything that would make sense for them at this point. Now, we've been saying for months that we've also wanted Rey and Dominic Mysterio to break up as well. I don't think that's happening now, especially with Rey on the cover of the new video game. Like, I don't think he's going to stay a good guy unless Dominic was going to be the bad guy, which I don't know. But I still think this is gonna wait till the summer. So
Yeah.
now with Rollins and Owens here, yeah. I don't know. Steven's saying that there's speculation Randy taking some time off while Riddle wins singles. I don't think that's the plan. Orton had recently said that his contract calls for 80 dates a year, which is like 50 to 55 TVs and pay-per-views, and then the other 30 are like live events. So I don't think he's taking time off anytime soon. I think he just did. Now, I could see him taking time off maybe after WrestleMania if they wanted to give Riddle, like, say, a Money in the Bank run or something like that. Because there's all kinds of stuff they could play where, like, Orton comes back and he could be like, Riddle's like, oh, look, you missed a lot while you were gone or something. So we'll see where that goes, and we'll see where Owens and Rollins goes. Both of these seem to be unpredictable. But at the same time, I think we know where both of them are going. We just don't necessarily know when, like how quick that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I would agree. DJ's asking if the win here with Rollins and Owens over the former champions gives them a feature title match. Again, I briefly forgot that RK Bro didn't have the title, so I thought, oh, they could do a title feud. But John, you mentioned, RK Bro winning the Quiz Bowl here. They will have the chance to challenge for the titles, so that's pretty easy to set up. It's like, they beat them when they were the champions, but they are the former champions. So I would say maybe, in a word, maybe, if not likely. Again, some mixed feelings about Owens and Rollins feuding here. Eddie predicting they might go that way. Got other comments about the fact, yes, they already did that. But I mean, I agree with John that, otherwise it's hard to kind of see where exactly they're going to go with them. So at least this would be a meaningful match if they do that, the singles side of things. But that's kind of where I come up on at this point, because I think that they've built up very well. They've been really fun together as a team. So there are worse things you could do. I'll leave it at that. Do you want to touch on we're still early in the show, a big story that broke before the show even began today, that there will be a women's Elimination Chamber match at the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia, which is of course a big deal. So I want to take a moment to just spotlight that. And obviously they announced 5 of the 6 participants there, with the big mystery as to who the 6th and final participant is. Speculation running rampant here. Eddie asking is guessing, the four maybe of the major possibilities here. Asuka, Alexa Bliss, we'll talk about her in a minute. Bayley, Lacey Evans, I've seen her name going around as well here. Now, Bayley, we were talking about for weeks and weeks, thinking she would come back in the Rumble. She did not. So I think she would be one of the preferred options in my mind. Asuka as well. Alexa will talk about in a minute. Lacey, again, I'm not quite sure about her in terms of her kind of, I won't say recovery time. She had a baby, so I'm not quite sure exactly the timeline there. But that's just saying Bayley or Asuka. Brian saying is glad to bring him back in the first place, and it was a surprise. And then just point out, John, if you had to pick today with not much evidence, but more just kind of what your general gut feeling or what you want to see, even, what are you thinking about who the participant will be? And then I guess going off of that, who should win this match? It's going to be Bianca Belair, Doudrop, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Nikki ASH, and then I guess the mystery. So what are you thinking about this match here?
So first, let me make it clear that no matter who the mystery woman is, Bianca Belair is winning. Okay. So, the mystery opponent could be anybody. Like Nesha in the chat, maybe it's Nesha, maybe who knows? Um,
Sure.
I'm convinced that it's probably Asuka or Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans has made history in Saudi Arabia with the whole Natalia thing. But then again, Alexa Bliss is always there. It could be her. I don't think it's Bailey. Bailey is done until after WrestleMania. Bailey is not coming. She's the big surprise after WrestleMania. Now but the rest, So okay, you're telling me I have to pick one. So if I have to pick one, I'd have to say Oscar, just because I think she's ready to go and she's a big name, and maybe she could win for all we know if they didn't want to do Belair again. But it's definitely, I mean, if it's Lacey Evans, there's no doubt she's not winning. If it's Alexa Bliss, I don't think she'd be like. This is weird to say, but I don't think she'd be ready to win yet. Like just coming back and
I get
everything.
it. Yeah.
So and if you look at who's in the match, like, okay, Liv Morgan, no, we've already done that. Dewdrop, no, we've already done that. Nikki ASH, no. Rhea Ripley, I mean, maybe. I mean, I
Maybe.
guess maybe. But
Yeah.
Bianca Belair, like, since she lost the title to Lynch at SummerSlam, they haven't really had a true one-on-one match that like ended clean with no distractions or dirty pins or anything like that. So it makes sense. I know a lot of people are going to be sour about Belair getting her probably if she were to win. I think she probably would, but
She
her
has to.
her second big WrestleMania moment 2 years in a row, arguably like more than Sasha Banks has had, more than Bailey has had, like that this is a pretty big deal for her. So I thought, talking about that, setting it up, and then of course tonight on the show, they kind of like delve into this. You get Liv Morgan versus Dewdrop, right? And then you get Bianca Belair versus Nikki Ash as well. So we'll talk about each of them. I'll start with the Dewdrop and Liv Morgan. I didn't. I was actually a little surprised that Dewdrop won, but then I thought to myself, "Am I really surprised?" Because like we've said time and time again, Liv Morgan is just like she's that version of almost, but never win the big match. We've seen this before. We've seen it in NXT with different people. We've seen it on the main roster with people. That's just kind of how she has settled in. Almost like Finn Balor. He gets these big matches and then he doesn't win them. So, but I saw people online saying this was predictable. I mean, I don't know if you thought this was predictable, but um, I think Dewdrop needs to play a better heel. Like she's a heel, but she doesn't really try to like draw any heat. I mean, she naturally gets some heat because that's just we know what she is. But think of the heat she was getting when she was with Eva Marie. Like she's not getting that kind of heat now. But I don't know. What do you think?
Definitely not predictable. I assumed that Liv would win this one. I mean, they've been pretty determined to really push her as this like at least secondary babyface, kind of behind maybe behind Bianca there. I don't know, man. They had this like pre-tape promo where she was talking about like the chamber match, and I'm just not feeling it. Like the promo she's cutting, and in terms of her delivery and the content itself, it's not getting better. Her matches are good, minus the screaming and all of that. She just like, screams all the time. I respect her as a performer. Like you can tell, like she works really hard and she's very passionate. Like I respect that, but like I don't know, man. Something's working. Something about it's not working for me. DJ saying Liv Mania is still running wild, but here it was not. Dewdrop won. Dewdrop cut a promo as well before the match saying she can splatter anybody on the roster, including one Liv Morgan, and that's what she did with a Vader bomb, if you will. DJ, not a fan, saying Dewdrop needs to go away. I thought this was fine. I think she's doing fine. Like she's not actively bad. Like no, and neither is Liv. I'm not trying to say that either. Like they're doing well with what they're given, doing the best they can, really, and that's all I can really do. But I would agree either way here. Good for Dewdrop to get that win to build her up like that. Brian saying Dewdrop has been impressive. I thought she was fine in this one, maybe even kind of good. And Steven saying Dewdrop is doing all right. So we're getting some mixed feelings on that one. We did see Bianca beat Nikki ASH. not much to write home about. Bianca looked good as always. You know, she's very impressive as well. Very impressive athlete. And again, I really struggle to see anybody win this match other than Bianca. Even with this mystery final participant, even if it's Asuka, Bliss, Bailey, whoever it might be. I've seen some people think it could be Sasha Banks crossing over to Raw. I don't know about that, but could be. But I have to think it's going to be Bianca. And if they do Bianca, I said a minute ago, they've got to give Bianca that win back. Steven's saying they're shaping up Bianca and Becky Mania, but I think so. And again, if they do, they can't have Bianca lose. They can't do it. I'm sorry. Like, Bianca's got to get that win back from dating back to SummerSlam. Got to get that revenge, and just got to get that kind of just being not only facing Becky, but being with getting that win. That'll really kind of cement her as that next level. I think they really need to do that here to really kind of get someone else to that level, because they don't really have anybody quite there yet. And I think Bianca would be a good person to do that with. Brian saying she's booked like a powerhouse. She has, and that's why I think that she should win and eventually beat Becky. Now, again, trying to be transitioning logically here, that might as well lead us to Lita coming out to cut a promo about her match with Becky. Basically, before Becky came out, Lita didn't really say much. She said she didn't think she'd be back in Denver for the cheap pop a couple weeks ago, but she felt at home in the Rumble, and then she name dropped a couple of the people on women's roster. Becky comes out. Becky gets a good promo saying that without Lita, there would not be a Becky Lynch, but now there is Becky Lynch, there cannot be a Lita. So she's going to take her out just like she dropped. She's going to drop Lita just like she dropped the fans and her friends along the way. Pretty good promo there. Becky kind of beats Lita up a little bit, but Lita gets the upper hand, as well as saying that she's, still fueled by the support of the loyal WWE fans. I mean, Lita looks great. Steven saying that. Lita, Brian saying she's not missed a step. Again, I'm not trying to be overly critical. Like, her promo just sounded like ripped right out of WWE 2K. She was saying, like, if not for these fans, like, the fans are why I'm here. And she's still like, you got to get ready to go from when I take the title at Elimination Chamber. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I get it's fun for nostalgia. I said last week, like, for me, she was before my time, so I'm in a bit of a weird spot where it's like, not by far. Just pretty much, I think she retired about 2 years before I started wrestling, or started watching. Excuse me. So it's a bit of a weird thing for me, where I'm like, I know who she is. I know what she's done. I respect her legacy and everything. Just like, I don't have that nostalgic thing going for me. So seeing her, I'm like, okay, the crowd's going crazy, everyone's excited, yay! But I'm like, all right, like, I'm a little more detached from it. But John, what do you think about Lita coming out here with Becky's promo as well?
Well, I thought that if you can say that a segment is predictable, let's say this was predictable because it had the whole, you were my hero, and we've seen this time and time again where you're my hero, but I'll put down my hero, like pretty much exactly what she said. Lita's not winning. Lita's just the latest, as I said because like, who would have thought months ago that Lita would be in the WrestleZone Universal Rankings in February, because she was on the list this week. She made the top 25, and my little excerpt about her in there, said that she's the latest legend to join the series of Saudi Arabia. We have Goldberg, you have Lita now. I think Lita might be the first female legend to go over, though.
I
But
think
you've
so.
had,
Yeah.
you've had Goldberg. I mean, Brock Lesnar, I guess if you want to call him that. I mean, Kane, Undertaker,
Yep.
HBK,
Yep.
Triple H. Like, she's just the latest in a series of people. So hey, it is what it is. She's not going to win. Makes Becky look better. So I can't really complain. But the segment tonight, like I said, was a little predictable, kind of like a little cheesy too. So
Yeah, that's why it didn't quite really work for me. I like Becky's promo, but as you said, I definitely been there, done that kind of thing. So at least it made me more interested than it was last week. Last week, at the end of the show, I was like, all right, but at least Becky coming out like added a little more flavor to it. So I was like, all right, I can at least kind of get into that. Next point, yeah, they started to set up Lita versus Charlotte. They had Lita confront Charlotte, but like before the Rumble, and now they're not doing that. Now they're doing Charlotte and Ronda on the SmackDown side of things. So a little weird, plans change, I get it, but it's kind of strange there. And likewise, Brian saying he wanted to see them do Lita and Charlotte and Becky Ronda. Well, they decided to go the other way. Reports are suggesting that they're planning tentatively on doing Becky Ronda next year, but that is such a long way away. Who even knows what things are going to look like at that point? But that seems to be kind of the general theory, and again, the reports going around that that's kind of what they're thinking about here. I thought this was fine. Nothing terrible, obviously. A little tired, I guess, but not bad. Not bad by any means. We did have a promo from Bobby Lashley. I thought this was a little interesting, where it was just Lashley and MVP cutting a promo about beating Brock Lesnar, about the Elimination Chamber. Nobody confronted Lashley. Nobody, nothing. Lashley is talking, not really doing anything. But again, not bad. Lashley almost came off like a babyface here, saying that like Lesnar was making demands for someone like that's never there, that hasn't really worked for it. He asked like, when's the last time Lesnar wrestled on Raw? And for a split second, I thought that Lesnar was going to show up and wrestle. Now we do know Lesnar will at least be on the show next week, so little teaser there maybe, but I imagine he's not going to be any wrestling. But still a little tidbit there. So it is noteworthy that, yes, this was Lashley's hometown, as Brian pointed out. This was in Denver, and Lashley's from Colorado Springs, so just in the hometown there, as Steve Chambers saying as well. John, any thoughts on this promo here with Lashley kind of getting pushed on? It's a bit of a baby face here, maybe?
I mean, maybe I wouldn't necessarily say that. I didn't really get any vibes on this, either way. What did you think as far as like if you see this going anywhere specifically or what?
I mean, like Nasha says, and I guess it should make the link. Yeah, he was being cheered, essentially, probably in some ways because it was his hometown, and dunking on Lesnar a little bit. Like, even though people have kind of come around on him because he's been more, not more entertaining, but like more funny, more fun, more lighthearted lately. It seems like people are generally a little more receptive to him these days. But there's still that kind of subsect of fans that are kind of generally down on him. So maybe kind of criticizing him a little bit, may have gotten some cheers as well. This just felt weird to me because like there wasn't a real objective. Like again, you sometimes kind of expect them to go a certain way. So it's like, oh, Lashley's out there. He has a chamber match, not next week, but the Saturday after that. So they don't have a whole lot of time to build it. So I expected maybe somebody, AJ Styles wrestled tonight. We had Riddle in the match as well. Even Austin Theory could have kind of come out there and just gotten a little screen time with the champion. I thought that would have been at least warranted based on his prominence recently, given he's been working with Vince McMahon. Just something. No, just Lashley talking, not bad. So I am curious though, because this obviously does kind of lean into what we can expect to see at the Chamber. We were talking about it earlier, talking about RK Bro, talking about Riddle, talking about the potential for title versus title, and now they're talking about Lashley. I struggle to think of Lesnar not leaving the Chamber as a champion. Because they do pin him sometimes, but doing it 2 shows in a row before he goes into WrestleMania to face Roman, that doesn't quite add up to me, at least in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it could really be a coin flip for a lot of these people. So I don't know. I mean, let's see. If I had to pick one right now, just because I fall for what people were saying, I'm probably gonna think Lesnar would probably win. If I had to pick my preference out of 3, I'd say Riddle 1, Lashley 2, Lesnar 3. Just because I don't like the title versus title concept. I think they could do 2 separate matches for that.
Yeah, and I would agree. Speaking of predictions here about it, Michael Covington saying Seth is walking out guaranteed. I wouldn't mind Seth winning. I mean, he's kind of like I think pretty much it's kind of a coin flip. AJ Styles has been kind of in the spotlight there. Maybe not quite on that main event level so much, but he has earned it. So they're worse. Their worst options. Seth, he's been challenging for the title. Reportedly, he was supposed to win the title day 1 before plans changed. So, it wouldn't be too crazy to predict. DJ predicting Riddle again. I really am having a hard time seeing that right now. I'm not saying never, just like does not feel like the right time. Brian predicting Lesnar as well, or Ashley. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. They might do the title versus title thing. So if Lesnar feels most likely right now, I don't know. But obviously, a lot could change in the weeks. We still have next week as well, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Steven, with a fair question, asking, what's the plan for Austin Theory WrestleMania? I mean, reportedly, it's going to be Shane McMahon, no longer with the company, as per their post broke last week. So, with that in mind, I don't know. Every time we talk about on the SmackDown side of things, Robert brings up he's probably going to get stunned by Steve Austin WrestleMania. Maybe, especially in a world where the Shane McMahon is not part of the plans here. I don't know. I don't know what you would do with him without that in that case.
I would say he's gonna win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That's what I would do with him.
But why?
Well, I mean, who's won it before? You've had Corbin, Mojo, um, I don't even know, but you've
not
had
exactly an all-star lineup there, John. Not.
Well, I mean, I guess, but if at the same time, like, I don't know. So I have the list of winners here. We have Cesaro, Big Show, Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, Matt Hardy, Braun Strowman, and Jey Uso. So out of all those people, I mean, Braun Strowman he had a run, I guess you could
He had a
say.
run. And then he didn't.
But yeah. Austin Theory, I think could be a candidate to win. Though I mean, if you really think about like the people that are in these kinds of matches and who could win these types of matches, like you have to think that he'd at least be like a favorite. You know what I mean? Like,
I more mean like I'm saying if he's in the match, yeah, he would probably be a favorite to win. I more mean like based on what we've been seeing for weeks and weeks now. The guy got a title match for the WWE title back in November. He's been working with Vince on Raw on screen. He's been facing Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, picking up wins. Like if that's kind of I'm not saying the payoff, but like if that's his WrestleMania moment, if you will.
well, I mean, I guess, I mean, it appears we're going to get AJ Styles and Damian Priest possibly for the title. This could carry over into that. I mean, otherwise you could possibly put Austin Theory there. But like, who else is on Raw that you're going to put him in a feud with? Like, there really isn't a whole lot of people at the singles level. I mean, you've already done him and Finn Balor like 50 times, so it's not going to be him. And like we're getting AJ and Priest already next week for the title, but of
Correct.
course
Yep.
that could end funky like it usually does. Otherwise, like think about the possibilities for Austin Theory. Just looking at the Raw roster, and there aren't a whole lot of options for a singles. I mean, you're not going to put him against Omos because like they're both supposed to look good, and Omos is like Veer. Like where's he at? You know?
Hey, did you know, John? Veer is coming, and in his own words, he can barely he can't contain it much longer. That was the newest development tonight. That got me. I was like, oh my
You know,
gosh. Oh,
there's I know three people I like that I'm pretty close friends with that are wrestling fans. Three people, and I've talked to all three of them about Veer, and I've told all three of them that I think when Veer shows up, he's going to be pretty over with the crowd, just based off of these promos. Now, I could be very wrong, or I could be very right. At the very least, he's going to be more over than he would have been just showing up without all of these,
yeah.
vignettes. So.
It's just too funny, man. They are very, very, very different things. I want to make that abundantly clear, but there is a comparison to be made with Veer and Hook in AEW, and they actually borrowed from that a while ago, where one of the promos said like "send Veer." Only I'm merely making the comparison because of, as you just said, John, that dynamic of social media, popularity, kind of like fan overall sentiment of people kind of getting behind into something, or like kind of puffing up the popularity a little bit even before they arrive, just kind of having this kind of buzz around something. So then when the debut does happen, there's more excitement than there might be otherwise. My gosh, it's like, again, I was not really into the quiz bowl. I was not into some other things we saw tonight, but we got the Veer promo with him saying he can barely control it much longer. Oh, it's so good. And again, the bar is
He
so
just
low.
he
I just
keeps getting lost, because he keeps getting lost and he somehow ends up on main event instead of Raw.
he keeps coming early, John. He just can't help it. Just can't help it.
Just
Can't
he
quite.
can't, if he could just wait till 8 o'clock instead of 7:30, he'd be fine.
He likes to get started early. Oh my gosh, man! It's just yes. Eddie's saying, I agree, man. It's the greatest. It's the greatest wrestling meme ever. It cracks me up. And like the weeks where there's not a Veer vignette, I get pretty upset. I'm just like, man, you're gonna take that away from me. Like on 3 hour show, you can't give me like 20 seconds just to get a little laugh out of it. The running theory now, and they're having reports about it, are that they are fully aware of that it's funny and they don't really have a plan. They're just kind of writing it out and trying to milk it as much as they can get. Fine. Lean on the joke. I think it's funny. Do what you want. But now the jokes are about you get him a map, and that's just saying like he's lost. Just get him a map so he can actually get there. I don't. It's either a matter of him being lost or him a matter of the time. He needs to, as you said, John, 8 o'clock here. It's 8 o'clock, not 7.
I hope he finally shows up for the first time a month from now when Raw's in Cleveland,
You can be there.
just so I can see him.
I'll probably
Because
at least you'll
he's
at
not.
least get to see him come on main event. You'll at least get to see that.
Well,
Unfortunately.
maybe that's not even a guarantee at this point because he's on main event like what, like once every like 3 weeks at this point. Like I don't even know how often he's on main event.
I feel like it's been pretty regular. I looked it up the other day where it's been like, at least not like
He's getting like I don't even know. Like they're just like maybe they're just seeing how much momentum this can get before it just kind of like
peters
stalls
out.
out. Even though I
Yeah.
think it's already kind of got to that point, but.
Guys, man, I thought tonight was really funny.
It
And
would be so ironic because we've got all these comments about Saudi Arabia. It would be so ironic if he actually was in Saudi Arabia for like an appearance and then you didn't see him again for like months after that. Like, no, he's in Saudi Arabia. He's been there the whole time. He's still there. He's
he,
trapped.
he came once and never again. Well, you never know. But oh, I mean, yeah, and that's why I should watch main event just to see the wonderful moment when he finally does come. I think that's a very special thing a sight to behold. But we did mention a minute earlier the U.S. title thing here. We had AJ Styles versus Damian Priest in non-title action. I tweeted about it when they first announced it on the show here tonight. I was like, oh, that's gonna be a really good match. But like this Priest gimmick just like sapped any excitement I had kind of going in. That's like, I know it's gonna be a good match, but it's like I want to see a good match and like good characters. Where it's like Styles, like he's doing good. I like this face turn he's on, but Priest, I say it every week. I'm not trying to I don't want to dunk on it too much, but it's not good. And then like it was a good match. Styles won as he should. Styles is in the chamber match. He needs a little more momentum, so he pins Priest clean. A little bit of a suggestion that things aren't maybe going as well with Priest as they were. He was not pinned for months and months and months, and now he's taking a couple pins kind of consecutively here, or at least more often than not here. Yet again, as we've been saying for a while, and Brian Everett agreeing here, saying, hey, this is the old Priest. His old team was banger. Yeah, I loved old Priest. Old Priest is cool. Now, the Inner Damian stuff, it's dumb, man. Like, and he lost to Styles, and then like they zoomed in on Priest in the ring. He was getting mad. He was all upset. His Inner Damian was coming out, and I was worried he's gonna like attack Styles or something. And that they did announce there will be a title match next week, which is interesting because I mean that's 1 week before, not even a full week before the Chamber pay-per-view, or sorry, premium live event. So that does beg the question how that might go. John, what do you think about this match here and the looming title match next week?
I thought the finish was especially good with Priest kind of running into that springboard forearm. It was perfectly timed. I thought the way he was kind of coming back and then running in Styles in the air, it just looks good. Uh, I don't think that Styles is going to win the title, but at the same time, like Priest has kind of been on this losing streak, so does he maybe like full-fledged turn heel and like DQ himself, or like what path do they take here? I have no idea.
Something that could be interesting. You're speaking the DQ here. Steven's saying, once he'd like to see AJ get the title. Wouldn't be surprised if Priest gets himself DQ'd. And we've seen them do this a lot with the New Damian comes out, he gets DQ'd. That's what they do. But what if Priest, like as you said, John, what if he really snaps? He like just brutally attacks AJ Styles, like not even a little an Damien popping up, like a full beast Damien, like coming out, destroying Styles, and then maybe like he's kind of out of action and he's kind of unclear to compete, quote unquote, for the chamber. And then what if someone else replaces him? What if that's Randy Orton? What if that's maybe Kevin. Well, no, Kevin's not going to go to Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Just to free up a spot like that could create some interesting possibilities there. And then, kind of going forward out of that, then you have a title feud there. Maybe then having Styles win the title. I'd like to see that, if only because again, this Priest thing really isn't working for me. And then my biggest problem is that I think they should lean fully either Priest as a face or heel. The inner Damien thing as a cheap like. It's not a shade of gray. It's he's pretty much a face, but then the new Damien comes out and then he's a heel, kind of. No, like Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and others.
It's not too late. It's not too late for Shane McMahon.
Man, that whole situation is very weird. Like I would not be surprised if someday soon, I would say probably pretty soon even. I mean, his last name's McMahon, so. Gotta imagine we have not seen the last of him when all's said and done. But I do think it's interesting. If I had to predict, I mean, yeah, a weak DQ is probably the thing there. Next, pointing out that Damien has multiple personalities. I mean, like if they really want to do that, they should really like do it. Again, the little like the inner Damien thing, like they're doing it in such a way that it just feels very like contrived or very like simple. Whereas like if you want to do multiple personalities, that's a very complex thing. Like that turns into like a commentary on like mental health in a way, and like that's a thing. Like and this is a weird like Jekyll and Hyde, like not for laughs, but they're doing it in such a way that it's just so simplistic. And I don't know. Yes, Nash, I agree. They could do a better job, but they should do a better job. That's why one of the reasons why this really is not working for me. But other things to talk about here, DJ, with a very good question. With Valentine's Day coming up, it was next week. Even Raw will be on Valentine's Day. Are we looking at a future Raw romance with Reggie and Dana Brooke? Well, DJ, Reggie got shoved hard into the friend zone tonight, and one of the most like rough parts of the show. So he's backstage with Dana Brooke. They're evading the 24/7 title contenders, and they're like talking about it. And she's like, "Thanks for being a good friend," and they're all having a nice time. Blah 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 blah. And she leans in to kiss him on the cheek, and he's like, "Oh," and then they have like a moment, and I think he kind of goes in to kiss her, or no, he's like, "Well, I'm trying to figure out what this means," and she's like, "We're friends. We're really good friends." And everyone on the internet was just like, "Oh no, Reggie, no!" And that's just saying, "Yeah, poor Reggie, man. That was like, ooh, it's like just full on like rocket into the friend zone, land of no return. Dunzo, you're gone. Like no coming back from that. The moment the F word comes out, it's over. I'm sorry." Oh man, DJ putting out the same with Otis and Mandy. Well, like, come on, man, Otis and Mandy. That was great. This, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying they can't redeem it, they can't save it, but Otis Mandy. John, any thoughts on Reggie's banishment to the friend zone?
No, I'm not necessarily convinced that it's over as far as like we saw the moment after the quote unquote friend zone where there was like they were potentially gonna kiss or whatever you want to call it. I still think this is building up to something of that nature, but I am not convinced that it's like going to be nothing. It's going to be something. Like they keep teasing this week in and week out. It's going to turn into something. Like I don't know if it's gonna be like. I mean, the show is PG, so they can't get too carried away. But I'd like to see like what it leads to. Like I don't know. It's gonna be something.
I mean, yeah, it's PG, but we got NXT 2.0 getting a little spicy. You think back to TLC, they lit Bray Wyatt on fire, so like they like to play around with the limits here a little bit. Steven saying it's the Raw version of Index. All right, pump the brakes. Index, like Otis and Mandy, up here, right? I'm gesturing up high. Dana and Reggie, not so much. I like the idea. Nez just said, have it turn into a revenge story. Maybe Reggie now, like Reggie's gonna get all mad. He's heartbroken. Hell, half no fury. Like if Reggie's scoring, he's gonna turn on her and pin her for the title. I don't know. Next week, next week is Valentine's Day, a very fitting occasion for some romance segment or well, the problem is now it's awkward, right? Now they're friends, and so it's like it's gonna be Valentine's Day, sort of like there's that there's gonna be that tension. Maybe we'll see some to that effect. But I like the idea that it's gonna turn into Reggie turning heel. I think there's something said for that, and I guess that'd be the best thing at this point. I don't really want to see them wind together. Like I'm not things drastically improve, but whatever. But speaking of titles, I want to glaze over it. We were talking about Alpha Academy, RK Bro, all these things. Should mention after the Quiz Bowl, the Street Profits came out. They rubbed Alpha Academy's loss in their faces, setting up a match, which was lo and behold right away. Pretty good match. Alpha Academy wins, and DJ pointing out, what are they doing with Street Profits? They're turning a talented former tag team champions into a bunch of jobbers. Well, it's interesting because when they came out, I thought they were going to win and maybe set up like a three-way kind of thing here. And no, they lost. And Raw doesn't have a lot of teams here that they can really afford to be doing that, especially in a world where they might want to be splitting up RK Bro at some point soon. Same goes for the Mysterios. They split, as we talked about months ago. They already split up 1,000 almost. Now they have, again, these two seemingly looming splits here. So, John, what do you think? What's going on with the Street Profits?
Oh man, I don't really know because they haven't been used too much, but when they have, I mean, they've looked okay. I thought that basically they don't know what to do with them. I think that's all it comes down to. They don't know what to do with them, but they need to keep them on TV somewhere or the other, so they're just doing stuff. Whatever
Yeah,
they can figure out, that's what they're doing. Like there's no set path they're on right now. I think they're just trying to stay relevant on TV by getting into random matches and segments and all that stuff. If it were Christmas, they'd probably be doing those backstage segments with the WWE shop.
right.
So who knows what they need to go back. Remember what they did? Was that them that was doing that little segment? It was like the report or whatever, and
Yeah,
they were
right.
like,
The weekend, the weekend kind of thing was playing off SNL a little bit back in the
yeah,
day.
they go
But
back to that or something. I don't know.
something. I mean, you said it. They're on the show, not the most successful right now. Whenever Montez Ford's in the ring, is doing great things. Now, for the second match in a row, he did like the Superman dive with the ropes. Thought that was pretty cool. Hopefully, they don't make that like an every match thing. Like they do that a lot. Where anytime someone does something cool, they turn it into part of the move set. Then it's less cool. But for now, it's still very cool. So I still like Montez Ford a lot. Steven Chambers saying break up the Profits. Ford, there's a singles run, he can fly. I mean, yeah, he's pretty much a superhero. Nesha saying she loves the Street Profits as well. Brian saying that he thought the Street Profits should have been in line for the tag titles for a while. Well, yeah, I mean, I would agree, but right now, maybe not so much. Hopefully, at some point soon, maybe, but it would feel weird to have them or get kind of a title shot right now because they've been on the losing side of things right here. But we glazed over earlier because we were talking about the chamber and everything. We do have Alexa Bliss. We had two therapy segments with Alexa Bliss tonight. The first one, not very eventful. She was in therapy, and the therapist who last week plugged the merch this week again brought up the fact it was a replica doll. I don't think he explicitly said it was from WWE shop. He wanted to practice an exercise in separation. Wanted Bliss to give Lily over. Bliss cried again. Fade to black. Later to show another segment. Apparently, Bliss pays for 2 therapy segments a week. She's upset, but John, after the separation of Lily, she looks more normal. She has a little more pink hair. She's dressed a little more, not just black, but black and pink. A little progression, a little evolution there. Little hints that we're making some changes. And then she's saying she was controlling her anger. She was controlling her anger. She was growing. And then she reached a breaking point. She attacked someone in a supermarket. Some people thought it was Asuka they referencing. She had rainbow hair. I thought that it was more like the physical embodiment of Lily, because she describes someone that has like skull teeth. But the Oscar theory is interesting. But I was at least a little encouraged by this. The first second, I was like, I thought that's all we were getting. It's like, come on, man! I just want Bliss to be back. I want this to pick it up. Let's go. Thankfully, the second one, um, there was a little more sign of some progression. And yes, not saying it's leading her back to the old Alexa. I am increasingly encouraged. That's where we're going. I just want to get there. I'm impatient, but I was at least a little more encouraged that this is where we're going.
Yeah, I'd like to get confirmation as well, but I don't think we're gonna get that because it's like there's so much like cryptic going on here where it's hard to tell like are they gonna fully transition her back? Like, is this supposed to be like where the therapy's working, or like what's gonna go on here? And it's hard to tell what they've given us so far. We know it's been said that they've filmed like 9 video packages or something. They've only aired like 4 or 5 of them, so
Yeah. So seemingly we'll still have a couple more. Now she reminded me, and maybe all of us, to trust the process. Yes, we just gotta hang in there, be patient. It does sound like a lot of us here want that process to pay off, want the old Alexa Black. That's what Steven's saying. And again, DJ's asking whether Alexa looked a little more. He's saying girly, a little more normal, a little more human, rather than the kind of fiendish as we've been seeing with this new character. Yeah, she was wearing like again the pink hair, a little more. Yeah, at the very least, less fiendish, so there's some progress to be had there. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to hang in there. I've said it before. I really think Raw would benefit from having her back. So hopefully, we'll. I mean, if they keep, admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of having like the 2 supplements per night from this, but if that means we get through it sooner, cool. Maybe just run right through them over the next 3 weeks, bring her back, and there you go. So hopefully, as Steve's pointing out, yeah. If it's a new gimmick or if it's a tweaked gimmick or evolved gimmick, something different, something a little. I'd be very disappointed if this turned out where just the therapy failed and she just was the exact same she started. I think that'd be a waste of everyone's time, hers, the therapist, the fans, everybody involved. So hopefully that's not what happens here. Yeah. But thankfully they are at least kind of acknowledging the history, not friends show, not to point out they should, or at least could pull out, oops, Fiend who, as they've done in the past. Thankfully, they're at least acknowledging the influence there, that Alex is still under the Fiend's indirect spell, or at least kind of influenced by him in that sense. So props for the continuity there. Sometimes, yes, they do just kind of wipe things out of existence. So always like seeing that. But lastly here, other than, we talk about the other big things, and that leads us to Miz TV with Ray and Dominic Mysterio. We were talking about the potential split of Ray and Dominic. Miz brought these two on the show to hash out some of the issues, or as he does, kind of stir the pot a little bit. Worth pointing out that Maurice was on the show here, so she's hanging around even after the Royal Rumble match here, so I was glad to see that. Again, Miz trying to kind of stir some of the aggression here, saying, he noticed some hostility, some tension last week when he outsmarted Ray. He, if you remember, tripped himself, got Ray ejected. He beat Dom. Ray was out there kind of speaking for his son. It's kind of weird. Dominic's like 24, so it felt weird to have his dad kind of speaking for him like that. It's like, and the storyline, like he should be kind of speaking for himself, and he eventually did. And then it was kind of like a weird, like he was like, "Oh, talk about respect. Where's your respect for my dad?" I was like, "All right." And then Maurice said something like, "You should learn something from me. Like you call yourself Ray Maurice Theory." I was like, "Oh, what is this, man?" And then, as you might guess, with Miz coming out in ring gear and Dominic coming out in ring gear, we got a rematch, as they often do. And with all the emphasis on what happened last week, and the fact that Maurice got ejected from ringside, leaving Ray to successfully trip Miz this week, and pretty much writing on the wall actually helped. And then Dom rolled up Miz, so the score is even after these past 2 weeks now. I do want to mention that one actually I thought at least kind of redeemable part of the segment was Miz was jealous that Ray was the cover athlete of 2K22, the video game. Like, that's a fine motive for a feud, but that got really buried in all this other stuff with Ray and Dominic and the respect and all this other stuff. If they want to do that, just like do that. Just like kind of roll with that, and then maybe kind of do the Dominic stuff, kind of a secondary thing. Miz had a line about like, oh, you're so much taller than Ray. Are you sure Ray is your dad and it's not Eddie? Again, perhaps for continuity. But people did not really seem to love the segment. None of the thing was terrible. I didn't love it myself. DJ's asking why would they have Miz lose to Dominic. John, what do you think about all this stuff we got going on here?
It's so weird that the Miz is feuding with both Mysterios by himself. So I know they've had him with John Morrison a long time. They need to pair him with somebody that makes sense to continue this feud. Part of me thinks they're gonna somehow reel in Ziggler and Robert Roode into this, and I don't think that's the best idea, but I just think that's where it's going. You know, it's just been singles matches over and over. They kind of rotate wins here and there. I don't see it going anywhere. It's just to keep Ray on TV. Of course, video game coming out. Early release is a month from today, so they got to continue to promote that. And Miz is, a good talker on the mic, and he can sell very well, and he can make anybody look good. And I don't see the point in doing this week in and week out, though. They could bring in George to tag with him, his dad, George Mazzani.
Yeah,
They could bring him in again. But otherwise, I really don't know where this is going to go, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and as you said, Nestor Green, Miz and Ziggler, I guess, like that's all right. Two veterans like that. DJ asking what's next. Miz fitting with Aaliyah. They could bring Aaliyah back. Not quite sure what Aaliyah's status is in that sense. Haven't heard anything. As far as we know, she's just kind of doing her own thing otherwise, but maybe she'll come back at some point. Desha does not want to see George here. And DJ saying Miz
Please, George.
That's just saying Miz versus Ray and his wife. As far as I know, his wife is not a wrestler at all.
Miz and Maurice versus Ray and Aaliyah.
There you go. Why not, right? Steven, I thought about this for a second. Miz and Omos together? Maybe. There are worse things you could do. Michael asking if we could get Ray versus Miz at Elimination Chamber. Would make sense. There's probably room for the card on it. It feels like, right now I don't know how they would get there. Like it feels like a decent WrestleMania match, but now it's February 8th, and that's just under 2 months away. Nice shout out from Michael Colin to saying Alex Riley needs to come back. I used to love that guy back in the day. The Miz and Alex Riley were two of my favorites when I was a kid, so that'd be kind of cool. But it doesn't exactly feel like that's the best path forward here. I don't know. I do think Miz needs somebody to team up with, because otherwise, got the two baby faces and just Miz does seem a little odd. Not saying we could do almost Miz with almost as the Miz Dow gimmick. Yeah, again, as I've been saying, my catchphrase for tonight has been there are worse things they could do. So why not?
It's the Miz and Maurice versus Rey Mysterio and Aaliyah, but not Aaliyah Mysterio, the Aaliyah that's on SmackDown. Aaliyah 317 Aaliyah.
Oh man. Well, who knows, right?
What'd you think of the show? Tell me what you thought. Mizdow, yeah, bring back Mizdow.
Nash giving it 7.5. I said at the start of the show, I just was not feeling it off the bat. Like the quiz bowl didn't really do it for me. We got some redeeming qualities at the end. I thought the Arcade Bro riddle and Owen stuff was good. I think like a 6.4 is fair. Steven gave me a 6.5. I'll give a 6.4, and that's probably too high for what I actually really feel. But I think it's 6.4 for me. We're getting another 6.5 from Brian. What are you thinking about the show overall, John?
I'm gonna have to go with 6.5. I agree with Brian and Steven. I thought it was a little below average, but it wasn't the worst we've seen. I'm gonna have to sit down one day and go through all of these Raw post shows we've done in like the past year and make a little graph to see, what we've done. Because I feel like I've been like either like down and then straight. Like it's always like a 6 or a 6.5. It's never anything higher than that anymore.
No,
So,
no.
but like DJ, I mean, holy.
Boy, DJ going 9.8. It would have given a 10 out of 10 if there was no quiz poll and
Oh
if Rare Play
man.
was on the show. Well, 9.8, my friend, that is very high. But as I always say, if you enjoy it that much, I respect you even more. Like if you're sitting there having a grand old time, loving it like that, more power to you. I respect it. Not just saying around a 7. Nando's saying 9.9 ducks minus 5.9 ducks. Is that a 4? Am I doing math right?
Yeah, that's a 4.
Ooh, man. Don't ask me to do math at past midnight on a Tuesday morning here.
8.5. Holy cow.
All right. Michael, an 8.5. Didn't know about Graham's analysis till tonight. Randy can bake 2, or bake, I think he meant bake 2 as well. I mean, like, Randy saved that segment. I just disliked it that much, whereas, like, even then, I was like, I don't know. If it worked a little bit for me, I'd probably feel I would at least be a 6.5, maybe a little higher, but and that's just going around 7 as well. But I would, as you said, John, I very much am like on average around 6.5, and then that's where we're at these days. Speaking of where we're at, it's toaster time of NXT 2.0 on Tuesday nights here. John, you will be unable to join us, so I'll be riding solo. But
it's I'm sorry, everybody watching and calling. The show has just become so bad that I can't. I gotta have a week off. It's too bad, man. I'll come back for the special next week, but good lord, it's just been so bad, you know. DJ, I gave it a 6.5 tonight, but in all reality, no. I'm not going to be home tomorrow at that time, so
but if you
I'll
actually did sit
probably.
out a week for NXT 2.0,
You
I would
wouldn't
not blame
blame
you.
me.
No,
Yeah, you wouldn't
not in
blame
the
me,
least.
and I
Not in the
wouldn't blame
least.
you either.
Steven asking what the card is. We do know they'll open with a commercial-free. Big selling point there. A women's title match with Mandy Rose defending against Kaylee Ray. I know they did announce over the weekend it will be Braun Breaker defending against Santos Escobar on Vengeance Day next week. So they're doing like a championship summit, I believe, like a confrontation, if you will. And then, they usually do. That was announced as well. I can look it up real quick here. I don't remember much getting announced otherwise, but I honestly don't remember. Don't want to waste everyone's time. Okay, so we got the championship segment. So, of course, the men's Dusty Cup as well. So because of the veterans and the Creed brothers, as well as MSK versus Malik Blade and Idris Enofe, and LA Knight versus Sanga, formerly known as Sorav. So not the strongest lineup, but not the worst either way. And as DJ pointing out, yes, Braun Breaker has a little beef with Dolph Ziggler. We're talking about him earlier with Dolph Ziggler here. Maybe we'll see those two lock it up at some point soon, assuming Braun does retain against Santos Escobar. But future we'll have to wait and see on that one. But that being said, I'll be here on Tuesday night to talk all about it. So make sure if you're into the toaster time side of things on that, tune in and we'll get through it together. But with that being said, otherwise, Robert and I will be back here on Friday to talk about Friday Night SmackDown. The two Downey Dudes on the right page covered all things AEW tonight with new episodes. Make sure to check that out as well.
And you'll be commercial free.
That I will, as always. No commercials over here. No sponsors. No sponsorships or anything. But not just saying NXT 2.0 needs to be reset to the factory settings. Oh yeah,
NXT point 20. Oh
point
man.
20. Ouch, not even 2.0. We have a sub decimal over here. But yeah, so we'll be here. I'll be here on for the NXT and SmackDown on Friday. Otherwise, all the stuff and more. The two Dynamite Dudes, the interviews, everything in between. All great stuff coming out. We have an interview with Charlie Haas coming out this week, an interview with Ian Riccaboni, and many others always available in the archives as well. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We appreciate you all so much for your constant support. It means a lot. Talking all things in this world of wrestling here. And we get through it together, whether it's good, bad, or in between, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, whatever it might be. Trying best to enjoy it, because that's what we do here at Wrestling John. That's what we do. We do our very best. So that being said, John, when we come here together to try and do the one thing here that we do wrestling, and John, can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed. Thanks for listening.